There comes a moment in every relationship when the balance of power shifts, when a woman looks at a man and realizes with absolute clarity that he is not just another option in her life, but the very foundation of her happiness. This realization doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't come from begging, from pleading, or from trying to convince her of your worth. It comes from something far more powerful, from becoming a man so inherently valuable, so authentically magnetic, that the thought of losing you becomes unthinkable. Welcome to Stoic Doctrine, where we don't just talk about love, we master it. If you're ready to step into your power, stay tuned, because this is the blueprint for becoming the man she can't live without. Let me tell you something you already know, but might need to hear again. People don't chase what's easily available. They chase what feels rare, what feels special, what feels irreplaceable. Think about the last time you truly wanted something, not just liked it, but ached for it. What did that thing have in common? It wasn't just good, it wasn't just nice, it was unique. It stood out. It made you feel something deeper than surface-level attraction. That's the energy we're going to cultivate in you today. Not through games, not through manipulation, but through the raw, unshakable power of becoming a man who commands attention simply by being himself. The journey to becoming the one she can't live without begins with understanding a fundamental truth. Women don't fall in love with insecurity. They don't fall in love with desperation. They fall in love with presence, with the kind of man who walks into a room and owns it, without saying a word. The kind of man who doesn't wait for her validation to feel good about himself. The kind of man who is so full of purpose, so full of ambition, so full of his own identity, that she can't help but think, what's he up to when I'm not around? That's the man who lingers in her mind long after he's left the room. That's the man she can't shake. And here's the thing, none of this requires you to change who you are. In fact, it requires the opposite. It requires you to strip away everything that isn't authentically you, the insecurities, the doubts, the fears, and step fully into your power. Because the most attractive quality a man can possess is authenticity. When you're unapologetically yourself, people are drawn to you like moths to a flame. So how do you become him? It starts with something simple but profound. Stop giving away your energy for free. The biggest mistake men make in relationships is pouring all of their love, all of their attention, all of their emotional labor into a woman who hasn't earned it. Every time you text her first when she's been distant, every time you cancel plans with friends because she finally decided to reach out, every moment you spend over-analyzing her mixed signals, you're devaluing yourself without even realizing it. Love isn't a negotiation where the person who cares less wins, but it is a dance of energy. The more you pour into someone who isn't matching your effort, the less they value you. It's not because they're cruel, it's because human nature is wired to chase what feels just out of reach. So, instead of chasing her, focus on cultivating a life so rich, so fulfilling, that her presence becomes a bonus, not a necessity. This is where the power of silence comes in. Silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of self-respect. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop justifying your worth, when you stop begging for the bare minimum, something remarkable happens. She starts to wonder, she starts to question, she starts to realize that you're not like the others, that you won't settle for crumbs when you deserve the whole feast. And that's when the shift happens. That's when she begins to see you not as an option, but as a priority. But silence alone isn't enough. You have to back it up with action, with a life so full, so vibrant, so unapologetically yours, that her attention becomes a bonus, not a necessity. This is what emotional independence looks like. It's not about not caring. It's about caring so deeply for yourself that you refuse to shrink for anyone. It's about building a world for yourself that's so rich, so fulfilling, that her presence in it is a gift, not a requirement. When she sees you thriving without her, when she sees you laughing with friends, pursuing your passions, lighting up rooms without her validation, something inside her shifts. She doesn't just admire you, she fears losing you, because she knows you're not defined by her, you're defined by you. And here's where the magic happens. When you stop trying to be everything to her and start being everything to yourself, you become unpredictable in the best possible way, not in the sense of playing games, but in the sense of being so fully yourself that she can't pin you down. One day you're discussing philosophy with a depth that surprises her. The next, you're laughing at a stupid meme with the kind of joy that's contagious. You're not trying to keep her guessing, you're just being. And in that being, you become a mystery she can't solve. That's the kind of man who stays in a woman's mind long after he's gone. That's the kind of man she can't forget. And let's be clear, this isn't about changing who you are to fit some ideal. It's about embracing every facet of yourself, the intellectual, the playful, the ambitious, the vulnerable, and letting them shine. Because the most magnetic men aren't one-dimensional. They're multifaceted, they're complex, they're real. But none of this works if you don't have one thing: standards. Not the kind you announce, but the kind you live by. The unshakable man doesn't argue for his worth. He demonstrates it. He doesn't get angry when she flakes. He simply moves on. He doesn't beg for commitment. He inspires it. How? By having boundaries so clear, so non-negotiable, that he doesn't even need to voice them. People treat you how you allow them to. If she's inconsistent and you stick around, you've just taught her that inconsistency is acceptable. But if she's inconsistent and you disappear, you've just taught her that your time isn't up for debate. Boundaries aren't about controlling others, they're about respecting yourself, and when you set them firmly, you send a message that says, "I am worthy of your best, and anything less isn't good enough." That's the kind of clarity that commands respect. This brings us to the most important piece of all, your mission. The most magnetic men in history weren't just lovers, they were leaders. They had something bigger than romance driving them. Nelson Mandela had justice, Steve Jobs had innovation, Elon Musk has his vision for the future. What's yours? When she sees you pursuing something that ignites your soul, something that has nothing to do with her, she doesn't just admire you, she respects you, and respect is the foundation of any love worth having. Your mission gives you purpose, it gives you direction, it gives you a reason to wake up in the morning that has nothing to do with whether or not she texts you back. And when you're driven by a mission, you radiate a kind of energy that's impossible to ignore. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because you're living a life that's bigger than any one person. And that's the kind of man who leaves a lasting impression. So here's your call to action. And I want you to do it today. Delete the text you've been overthinking. Put on the outfit that makes you feel invincible. Dive into that project you've been putting off. Become the man who's so busy living an extraordinary life that women have no choice but to rise to your level. And if you're ready to take this deeper, if you're ready to unlock the kind of confidence that makes women need you in their lives, then hit subscribe, because Stoic Doctrine is your blueprint. Drop a comment below with the word irreplaceable if you're committed to becoming him. Remember, the goal isn't to make her chase you. The goal is to become the kind of man she'd regret losing for the rest of her life. Now, go out there and own it. And here's the final truth. Love isn't about control. It's about attraction. It's about inspiration. It's about a natural, effortless pull towards someone who embodies everything you admire. You don't need to manipulate or play games. You just need to become. Become the kind of man who lights up a room with his presence. Become the kind of man who isn't afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't serve him. Become the kind of man who loves deeply but never loses himself in the process. When you do that, you won't just be the man she can't live without. You'll be the man she never even imagined finding. And that, my friend, is true power. Let me leave you with this thought. The world is full of men who are waiting for love to save them. Don't be one of them. Instead, be the man who saves himself. Be the man who builds a life so extraordinary that love becomes an addition, not a necessity. Be the man who knows his worth, who sets boundaries, who chases dreams, who laughs freely, who loves fiercely. Be the man who doesn't need anyone to complete him because he's already whole. And when you do that, something incredible happens. You attract the same level of wholeness in return. You attract a woman who sees you not as a puzzle to solve, but as a masterpiece to admire. A woman who doesn't just want you, but who wants to grow with you, to build with you, to dream with you. That's the kind of love worth having, and that's the kind of man worth becoming. Now go out there, take control of your life, and become the man you were always meant to be. The journey starts now. See you in the next one.